Ethan walked through the quiet cargo zone of the frontier outpost, carrying a small toolkit in one hand. His work shift had ended, but he stayed behind to fix a power relay that had been flickering all day. The outpost lights hummed softly, and the wide metal corridors felt almost peaceful. He liked these moments when most people had gone to their quarters and the station felt calm. As he tightened the last bolt, he felt a faint vibration under his feet. At first he thought it was just the station's engine shifting power. But then the vibration grew stronger. A second later, loud alarms cut through the silence. Red lights flashed along the walls, warning of a breach. Ethan froze. He had been on the outpost for almost a year, and alarms like this were rare. He heard shouts in the distance, followed by the sharp crack of gunfire. His heart started to pound. He grabbed his toolkit by instinct, even though it was useless in a fight, and stepped carefully toward the sound. Down the next corridor, security officers rushed past him, their weapons drawn. One of them yelled for him to get to a safe area, but he could not move. Something in the officer's voice told him this was not a drill. The gunfire grew louder. Ethan ducked behind a stack of metal containers as laser shots flashed across the hall. He did not know who the attackers were or what they wanted. The outpost was far from any major trade routes, and there was nothing valuable here. But someone was fighting their way inside, and they were not trying to hide it. Another blast shook the ground. Ethan crouched lower, trying to see through the narrow space between containers. Security officers were forming a defensive line, firing toward dark shapes moving near the far entrance. Sparks flew when shots hit the walls. The attackers moved fast, almost too fast to see clearly. Ethan did not want to be there. He wanted to run, to hide, to call for help. But before he could move, he heard a small sound behind him. It was soft, almost like a whimper. He turned slowly. At first he saw only shadows. Then something shifted. A small figure was curled up behind a crate, trying not to be seen. Ethan blinked when he realized what he was looking at. It was a child, but not a human one. Her skin was faintly blue and glowed slightly under the red emergency lights. She had large dark eyes, wide with fear, and she breathed in short, frightened gasps. She wore a torn suit made from strange fabric he had never seen. She looked hurt. One of her arms was held close to her chest, shaking. Ethan stared at her, shocked. She stared back, too scared to move. Another blast punched through the hallway, making both of them flinch. The child covered her head with her good arm. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. She was right in the middle of the fight, and she was too small and too injured to protect herself. Ethan looked toward the security line. The officers were retreating. The attackers were closing in. A stray shot hit a container close to the girl, sending a shower of sparks across the floor. Without thinking, Ethan moved. He slid out from behind the containers and crouched beside her. "It's okay," he whispered, though he had no idea if she understood him. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." The girl pressed her back against the crate, trembling. Ethan reached out slowly, keeping his voice calm. "We have to move. It's dangerous here. Come with me." She shook her head at first, terrified, but another blast made her flinch toward him. Ethan reached under her arms and lifted her gently. She was lighter than he expected, and she whimpered when he moved her injured arm. He held her close and turned away from the gunfire. Shots flew behind them as Ethan ran down the corridor. The girl buried her face against his chest, gripping his shirt with her good hand. He could feel her shaking. He could feel his own hands shaking too. He did not know where he was going, only that he needed to get her away from the fighting. A door up ahead opened automatically as they approached. Ethan slipped inside and let it close behind them. The noise of battle became muffled. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The girl looked up at him, her eyes still full of fear but no longer empty of trust. She held onto him tightly. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe with me." He knew those words were not completely true. They were still in danger. He did not know who the attackers were or why they were here, but he also knew he could not leave her alone. Footsteps echoed somewhere down the hall. Ethan shifted the girl gently in his arms and started moving again. He needed to get her to the medical bay. Nurse Karen would know what to do. Karen always knew what to do. As he hurried through the dim corridors, Ethan felt a strange weight settle in his chest. He had only met this child minutes ago, but something about her fear, her injuries, and her quiet bravery pushed him forward. He did not know her story. He did not know where she came from, but he knew one thing with complete certainty. He had to protect her. Whatever happened next, he would not let anything harm this child. Ethan moved quickly through the quiet hallway, holding the small alien girl close against his chest. The sounds of battle were still far behind them, but every echo made him tense. He did not know how much time they had before the attackers spread through the outpost. The girl kept her face pressed into his shirt, breathing in short, nervous breaths. He whispered to her even though he was not sure she understood. "You're doing great. Stay with me." As they rounded a corner, the emergency lights flickered. The station systems struggled under the stress of the attack. Ethan hoped the medical bay still had power. He needed help. He had no training for handling alien injuries, and the girl's arm looked worse with every passing minute. He walked faster. When they reached the lift, Ethan pressed the call button and prayed it would work. The doors opened slowly with a tired mechanical sound. He stepped inside and held the girl a little tighter as the lift began to move. The lift stopped 2 levels up. The doors opened to a dim hallway lit only by red strips along the floor. The air smelled faintly of burnt metal. Somewhere in the distance, he heard something fall and clatter. "Almost there," he murmured. He followed the signs toward the medical bay, his footsteps soft against the metal floor. The girl looked up at him for a moment. Her eyes were large and dark, filled with fear but also trust. Ethan offered her a small smile, hoping to calm her. When he pushed open the door to the medical bay, relief washed through him. The room was still powered. Soft lights glowed overhead. Machines hummed quietly, and Nurse Karen stood at the far counter, sorting through medical supplies. She turned when she heard him. Her eyes widened when she saw the girl in his arms. "Ethan? What happened?" she asked, rushing toward him. "She's hurt," he said, "and she's not human. I found her in the cargo zone during the attack." Karen's expression changed from shock to concern in seconds. She pointed to the nearest exam bed. "Put her down gently. Let me have a look." Ethan lowered the girl onto the bed. She winced and curled her legs slightly. Karen moved slowly, her hands calm and careful, trying not to frighten her. "It's okay, sweetheart," Karen whispered. "We're going to help you." The girl watched Karen's movements closely. She seemed to understand the tone, even if she didn't understand the words. Karen examined the injured arm first. She frowned at the strange wound. "This wasn't caused by a human weapon," she said quietly. Ethan looked surprised. "Then who shot her?" "I don't know," Karen said. "But whoever it was, they didn't care she was just a child." Karen cleaned the wound while the girl squeezed Ethan's hand tightly. He sat beside the bed and murmured soft reassurances. The girl's breathing slowly steadied. When Karen finished bandaging the arm, she checked for other injuries. "She's dehydrated," Karen said, "and her energy levels are low. We need to get her hydrated, but I have no idea what her species can safely take." Ethan nodded. "We'll figure something out. But Karen," she said her name. "I think it's Lyra." Karen smiled gently at the girl. "Lyra, that's beautiful." The girl blinked slowly, as if recognizing the sound of her own name. Before they could speak further, the lights flickered again. A deep rumble shook the floor. Karen looked toward the ceiling. "That didn't sound good," she whispered. Ethan stood. "The attackers are getting closer." Karen stepped to the console and checked the security feed. The screen showed smoke in the main hallways. Security officers were falling back. The attackers were spreading faster than expected. "We can't stay here," Ethan said. Karen hesitated. "Where will you go?" "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But they're sweeping the station. If they're after her—" He looked at Lyra. "We can't let them find her." Karen nodded. "Then take this." She handed him a small medical pack filled with supplies. If her condition worsens, you'll need it. Ethan slung the pack over his shoulder. Are you sure you'll be safe here? Karen gave a tight but brave smile. I'll manage. But you need to move now. Ethan lifted Lyra gently from the bed. She wrapped her good arm around his neck, holding on without a sound. Karen touched her lightly on the shoulder. You'll be all right, Lyra. He's going to take care of you. Lyra looked at Karen with soft, grateful eyes. Ethan stepped toward the door, but Karen called out quietly, Ethan, be careful. He nodded once. The hallway outside felt colder than before. The distant blasts grew louder. Ethan walked quickly, holding Lyra close, the medical pack bouncing lightly against his back. He needed to find a safe place. He needed to keep her alive. And he needed to understand why a child like her was caught in the middle of a battle. As he moved through the dim corridors, the truth settled heavily in his mind. This was only the beginning. Ethan found a quiet storage room near the lower decks and slipped inside with Lyra in his arms. The room was small, filled with supply crates, dim lights, and a stale smell of old metal. It was not perfect, but it was safe for the moment. He gently set Lyra down on a stack of soft packaging material so she could rest. She watched him silently, her large dark eyes following his every movement. She still looked weak, but she no longer trembled as much as before. Ethan knelt beside her and opened Karen's medical pack, checking the supplies inside. Bandages, gauze, energy patches, hydration packs. At least they had something. Are you feeling a little better? He asked softly. Lyra blinked once. Then she reached out and touched his sleeve with her good hand, a small gesture that felt like trust. Ethan tried to smile. Good. You're safe here for now. He was still catching his breath when the room's dim lights flickered again. The distant rumble of the station's hull made dust fall from the ceiling. Lyra tensed and curled her legs close. Ethan gently rested a hand on her shoulder. It's all right, he whispered. I won't let anything happen to you. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes shining faintly. For a moment they stared at each other, and Ethan felt something strange in his head. A soft pressure, like a gentle hand pressing against his thoughts. He blinked in surprise. Lyra, he said quietly. The pressure grew stronger but not painful. Felt more like someone trying to speak without words. Ethan sat still, unsure if he was imagining it. But then something happened. Images flashed in his mind. He saw a bright room filled with tall figures who had the same blue glowing skin as Lyra. They wore elegant armor and moved with authority. He saw Lyra laughing as one of them lifted her playfully. Then he saw a woman, taller, stronger, with fierce eyes but a warm smile, resting her hand on Lyra's head. Ethan gasped softly. Your mother! The next image was darker. A sudden explosion. Screams. Bright flashes of enemy fire. The woman pushing Lyra into a protective escape pod. Lyra crying and reaching for her. The pod launching into space as the woman shouted something Ethan could not fully understand. Then the vision ended. Ethan opened his eyes. Lyra was breathing hard, her face tired from the effort of sharing those memories. She looked small, fragile, and very alone. You're showing me your memories, Ethan whispered. You can project them? Lyra nodded slowly. Ethan sat back, stunned. Her people were powerful, organized, strong. And if Lyra was the daughter of one of their commanders, maybe one of high rank, then losing her would not be something they took lightly. He rubbed his forehead. Your mother. She put you in that pod to save you. Lyra lowered her gaze and wiped her face with her good hand. She looked like she might cry. Ethan gently squeezed her fingers. Hey, you're alive. She made sure of that. For the first time, Lyra whispered something. Her voice was soft and trembling. Saris. Ethan leaned closer. Saris? Is that your mother's name? Lyra nodded. Ethan felt a chill. The name sounded powerful, commanding. Whoever Saris was, she was important. And if her child had landed on a human outpost in the middle of an attack, it meant things were far more complicated than he first believed. He took a slow breath. Lyra, your people must be looking for you. They'll want you back. Lyra stared at him, hope flickering in her eyes. But, Ethan added, they might think humans hurt you. They might think we attacked you. Lyra flinched at the thought, then looked at him firmly. She reached out again and pressed her hand over his heart. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. A message without words. Trust. He swallowed, feeling an ache in his chest. You're trying to tell me they'll understand? Or that you want them to know I helped you? Lyra nodded. Ethan ran his hand through his hair, stressed. That's good, Lyra. Really good. But we need to find a safe way to contact them. And we need to convince the outpost not to panic when they show up. He stood and paced slowly in the small room. His mind raced. If an alien commander truly believed her daughter had been harmed by humans, she might bring her entire fleet to the outpost. That would mean war. A war humans were not ready for. He stopped pacing and looked at Lyra. Everything depends on us getting this right. Your memories might be the key to stopping a fight before it starts. Lyra blinked at him, calm now, trusting him with her life. Ethan felt a heavy responsibility settle on him. He had saved her once from gunfire, but now he had something even harder to do. He had to save everyone else. Footsteps echoed faintly outside the door. Ethan turned sharply. Someone was coming. He crouched beside Lyra again and whispered, "Stay quiet." The footsteps grew louder. Ethan steadied himself, ready for whatever came next. The truth he had learned in this tiny storage room was clear. This child was no ordinary alien, and her people were coming. Ethan stayed perfectly still, holding his breath as the footsteps stopped right outside the storage room door. Lyra pressed herself against his side, her small fingers gripping his sleeve tightly. The tension in the air felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. The door panel beeped softly. Someone was trying to override the lock. Ethan moved quickly and silently. He lifted Lyra and slipped behind a tall stack of crates, keeping her close and low. The door slid open with a hiss. 2 security officers stepped inside, their flashlights sweeping across the room. They looked tense, tired, and confused. One of them muttered something about searching every room on the deck. Ethan held Lyra tighter and stayed hidden. He could hear the officers' footsteps echoing around the crates. After a long minute, one of them sighed. "Nothing here," he said. "Let's move. Command wants everyone in the briefing hall. They're saying the attackers weren't human." The second officer paused. "Then who were they?" "No idea. But the captain thinks they were after something. Or someone." Ethan felt Lyra tremble. He pressed his hand gently over her back, trying to calm her. The officers finally left, the door shutting behind them. The moment it closed, Ethan let out a slow breath. "They're looking for you," he whispered to Lyra. She looked up at him with frightened eyes. Ethan stood and moved back to the center of the room, pacing slowly as he tried to think. He needed answers. He needed to know what command believed, and how close they were to making a terrible mistake. Ethan shifted Lyra into his arms again. "We're going to the briefing hall. Stay close." He slipped out of the storage room and stayed in the shadows as he moved down the corridor. The rumbling of distant blasts had faded, replaced by an uneasy quiet that spread through the outpost. When they reached the ventilation shaft near the briefing hall, Ethan carefully lifted the grate and crawled inside with Lyra. The narrow passage led to a small opening that looked down into the command room. Ethan peeked through. The hall was full of officers, engineers, and leaders. The captain stood at the center, looking pale and shaken. A hologram flickered above the table, showing a large alien fleet moving toward their system. The officer next to him pointed at the display. "These ships match no known species. They are heavily armed and approaching at attack speed." A wave of whispers filled the room. The captain lifted a hand. "We believe they are here for a child who was injured during the attack on our outpost." Ethan felt his stomach twist. The officer continued. "Reports suggest a human engineer was involved in the incident, possibly responsible for the child's injury." Ethan's heart dropped. "That's not true," he whispered. "I saved her." Lyra clutched his shirt tightly. The captain spoke again, voice heavy. "If this alien fleet thinks we harmed one of their young, They may consider us hostile. We cannot afford a war. We need to identify the engineer and hand him over before the fleet reaches us." The room erupted in arguments. Some officers shouted that handing over a human without proof was wrong. Others yelled that saving the outpost came first. Ethan felt Lyra bury her face in his chest. She understood more than he expected. He closed his eyes. "They think I hurt you," he whispered. "They really think I did it." The hologram changed to show a close-up of an escape pod. Ethan recognized it from Lyra's memory. The officer pointed. "Scans confirmed this pod landed on our outpost hours before the attack. Whatever happened afterward, humans were the first to reach her. Which makes us responsible," the captain said quietly. "Whether we want to be or not." Ethan's pulse quickened. He knew staying hidden wasn't enough anymore. He needed to show them the truth. He needed to prove he protected Lyra, not harmed her. But he also knew Command was scared. Scared enough to sacrifice him. He backed away from the vent and whispered to Lyra, "We have to move. They won't listen to me now. Not like this." Lyra nodded softly. Ethan crawled back through the shaft until they reached the far end, then slipped out into an empty hallway. He walked quickly, mind racing. "They think giving me to the aliens will stop a war," he said. "But if they hand me over without hearing the truth, it might start one." Every step he took felt heavier than the last. He had saved Lyra once from gunfire. Now he had to save her from something worse, a misunderstanding that could destroy everything. Ethan tightened his hold on the child. He wasn't going to let fear decide his fate. He wasn't going to let them take him. And he wasn't going to let anyone use Lyra as a reason for war. He had to find a way out, before it was too late. The days that followed were tense for everyone. Ethan stayed inside the alien outpost with Lyra and her mother's soldiers close around him. He did not feel like a prisoner, but he also did not feel free. The soldiers watched every move he made. They did not speak to him unless they had to. Their eyes always followed him, sharp and cold. Lyra did her best to keep things calm. She stayed near him when she could. She spoke softly to him and tried to explain the ways of her people. Ethan listened, but he also felt pressure growing inside him. He wanted to go home. He wanted to return to Earth, to the life he once knew. But he also knew that if the alien commander believed he was a threat, leaving would not be easy. One morning, the sound of raised voices came from outside the outpost. Ethan stepped closer to the doorway and saw a group of alien soldiers arguing. Lyra rushed to his side. She looked worried. She told Ethan the soldiers did not trust humans. They believed humans acted too quickly and fought too easily. Some of the soldiers thought bringing Ethan here was a mistake. They feared he would bring danger to their people. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He knew how misunderstandings could turn into conflict. The alien commander entered the room soon after. Her face was calm, but her eyes held pressure. She looked at Ethan and spoke with a steady voice. She said that more alien ships were on their way. They wanted to take Ethan into custody. They believed the rescue of Lyra was not a simple act of kindness. They thought he wanted something in return. They thought humans never helped without gain. Ethan felt anger rise inside him. He said he helped because it was the right thing to do. He said he never wanted trouble. Lyra stood beside him and defended him. She told the commander Ethan had risked his own life to save her. She said no enemy would do something like that. The commander listened, but doubt still showed in her eyes. Later that night, the outpost grew quiet. Ethan sat alone near a dim light. He thought about the path that brought him here. He thought about the moment he pulled Lyra from the wreckage. He did not regret it, but now his life was tied to a conflict he never wanted. He wondered if he would ever see Earth again. Lyra appeared beside him. She sat down without a word. After a moment, she told him she believed her people were wrong. She believed humans could show kindness without expecting reward. She thanked him again for saving her. Ethan felt a small comfort hearing her words. But outside, the tension among the soldiers only grew. More ships arrived in the sky. More soldiers filled the outpost. Their eyes carried suspicion. Their hands stayed close to their weapons. One evening, Alarms echoed through the walls. The alien commander ordered every soldier to prepare. She turned to Ethan and told him he needed to stay inside the secure chamber. She said some soldiers demanded they hand him over immediately. She said if he walked outside, someone might try to harm him. Ethan understood then that he was no longer just a guest. He was a spark that could light a war. Lyra refused to leave him. She stayed inside the chamber with him. She placed her hand gently on his arm and told him she would not let anything happen to him. Ethan felt grateful for her courage, but fear still stirred in him. He wondered how much longer this could last. He wondered how far her mother's army would go to protect her, and how far they would go to remove him. Outside the chamber, angry voices grew louder. Boots hit the floor like heavy drums. Ethan took a slow breath. He did not know what would happen next, but he knew the tension was reaching a breaking point. The days grew heavy with fear as Liam waited for the alien forces to make their next move. The small town was quiet now. People stayed in their homes, unsure of what was happening, but aware that something strange and dangerous surrounded them. Liam tried to keep himself calm, but his thoughts kept returning to Mira and her mother, Commander Valora. He wished he could speak to them again without weapons pointed at him. Liam spent time walking through the edge of the forest where the first encounter had happened. He hoped to find signs of Mira or her people, anything that could show they wanted peace. But the forest stayed silent. Only the soft rustle of leaves followed him. He wondered if the alien forces were hiding there, watching him, waiting for the right moment. One evening, as the sun began to set, Liam heard a soft noise behind him. He turned quickly, expecting danger, but instead he saw Mira standing alone between the tall trees. She looked tired and worried. Liam's chest tightened when he saw her. He had not expected her to come back. Mira stepped forward slowly. "Liam," she said in a small voice, "I came to talk." He knelt down to be at her height. "I'm glad you did. Is your mother still angry?" Mira nodded. "She thinks you hurt me. She thinks you hid me to use me as a shield. She believes you want to fight our people." Liam shook his head. "But that's not true. I protected you. I only wanted to help." "I know," Mira whispered, "but she does not trust humans. She has seen other worlds where humans attacked first. She fears the same here." Liam sighed. He could understand fear, but he wished he could make Commander Valora see the truth. "What can I do?" he asked. "How do I prove I'm not your enemy?" Mira looked down at her hands before answering. "There is a way, a very dangerous way." Liam waited. Mira lifted her eyes, and they were full of sadness and a little hope. "My mother is not the only leader of our forces. There is a council. They listen to truth and honor. If you speak to them, they may believe you." She paused. "But to reach them, you must enter our landing site. If you step inside without permission, our guards will think you want to attack." Liam felt a chill run through him. "So if I go, they might shoot me?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, but if you do not go, the council will never hear your voice. They will think you are hiding something, and my mother will prepare for war." Liam looked at the darkening sky. The wind felt colder now. He had already risked his life once to protect Mira. Doing it again felt almost natural, but this time the danger seemed much larger. Still, he could not let an entire war start because of a misunderstanding. He stood up and took a breath. "I'll go with you, wherever your people are. Take me there." Mira's eyes widened with worry. "Liam, you are brave, but I don't want you to get hurt." He smiled gently. "You didn't ask me to take the risk. I'm choosing it. If it keeps your people and mine safe, it's worth it." Mira stepped closer and took his hand with her small three-fingered palm. Her touch was warm. "Then I will guide you, but you must follow me exactly. Do not run. Do not raise your hands. Do not make sudden moves." Liam nodded. "I understand." They walked through the forest together. The trees grew thicker, and strange glowing symbols began to appear on the ground. Liam sensed they were getting close. His heart pounded as the night air filled with a faint humming sound, like machines hidden in the shadows. Suddenly, bright lights flashed ahead. A deep voice shouted in a language Liam could not understand. Mira squeezed his hand. "Do not fear. Stay still." Figures stepped out of the darkness, their armor shining with blue light. They raised their weapons, aiming at Liam. Mira ran forward and shouted in her language, pointing back at Liam again and again. The soldiers hesitated but did not lower their weapons. Liam stood straight, trying not to show fear. He stared at the soldiers, hoping they would see he meant no harm. The tension in the air felt like a tight rope ready to snap. Then a familiar voice rose above the others. Commander Valora stepped forward, her eyes glowing with authority and suspicion. She looked at Liam, then at Mira, then back at Liam. "You dare return," she said in a cold, steady tone. "You dare step toward our ground." Liam swallowed hard. "I'm here to talk. Nothing more." Commander Valoris' expression did not change, but she raised one hand, and the soldiers lowered their weapons slightly. "Then speak," she said. "But understand this. One wrong step, and your life ends here." Liam nodded, knowing that this moment could change everything for both their worlds. Liam stood under the harsh white lights of the alien landing site. The ground below him hummed with energy, and rows of armored soldiers kept their weapons ready. Mira stayed close to him, her hand still shaking in his. She tried to look brave, but Liam could feel her fear. Commander Valora watched Liam with sharp, unblinking eyes. She did not trust him, but she allowed him to stay alive for the moment. Liam took a slow breath. He knew this was his chance, maybe the only chance, to stop a war. The soldiers formed a circle, creating space in the center. A glowing device floated above the ground. Mira whispered that it would record everything he said and send it to the council. "Speak now," Commander Valora said. "Tell us why you interfered with my daughter. Tell us why you took her from the crash." Liam stepped forward. His voice shook at first, but he forced himself to speak clearly. "I helped Mira because she needed help. I saw the wreck, I saw the gunfire, and I knew she was in danger. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know anything about your people. I just knew a child was going to die if I didn't act." Some soldiers whispered among themselves. Others looked unsure. Valora kept her expression unreadable. Liam continued. "I didn't hide her to use her. I didn't want to harm her or any of you. I only wanted her to be safe. And if you think that makes me an enemy, then I don't understand your idea of honor." The floating device pulsed softly, recording his words. Mira stepped forward next. Her small voice carried through the landing site. "Mother, he saved me. He never hurt me. He never asked for anything. He protected me when others shot at me. I would not be standing here if he had not risked his life." Commander Valoris' jaw tightened, but she listened. Mira continued. "Our people speak of truth and justice. But if we punish someone who saved a child, then we are not who we say we are." The soldiers grew silent. Even the humming machines seemed to quiet. Liam looked at Valora. "You don't have to like me. You don't have to trust humans. But don't start a war because you think I'm something I'm not. I don't want to fight you. I only want peace." Valora took a long breath. Her eyes moved slowly from Liam to Mira. She looked at her daughter for a long moment. Then she raised her hand. The soldiers lowered their weapons completely. "Your words will reach the council," Valora said. "They will decide your fate. But know this, if you lie, if you hide anything, if you threaten my people or my daughter, there will be no second chances." Liam nodded. "I understand. I'm telling the truth." Valora turned to her soldiers and gave quick orders. A large structure near the landing zone opened, revealing a bright interior. Liam felt his stomach twist. Was he being taken somewhere safe or somewhere dangerous? Mira touched his arm. "They will not harm you now," she said softly. "You spoke with honor. The council respects honor." Liam hoped she was right. Valora gestured for him to follow. "The council waits. You will be escorted to them. You will speak again. And then we will know if peace is possible." Liam walked forward with the soldiers beside him. Mira followed close behind. The world felt heavy and uncertain, but something inside him felt lighter. He had spoken the truth in front of everyone. Now the decision rested in the hands of beings he had never met. As he stepped inside the glowing structure, Liam whispered to Mira, "Whatever happens next, thank you for believing me." Mira gave a small smile. "You gave me your trust first. I am only giving it back." The doors closed behind them, and the room filled with bright light. Liam felt himself rising into the sky, into the unknown, and into the judgment of the alien council that would decide the future of two worlds. The glowing chamber hummed as Liam stepped forward. Rows of council members sat in silence, their tall forms shimmering with faint light. Their eyes were sharp and unblinking. Liam felt the weight of their attention, like the entire room was pressing down on him. Mira stayed close at his side, holding his hand. He drew strength from her presence. Together they faced the council. Commander Valora stepped forward, her gaze steady. She motioned for Liam to speak. He cleared his throat, feeling his heart pound in his chest. "I am Liam," he began. "A human. I came to protect Mira when she was in danger. I did not know who she was at first. I only saw a child who could be killed. I acted to save her life. I did not seek reward. I did not seek conflict. I only acted out of compassion." He paused, letting his words sink in. The chamber was silent. Even the humming of the energy panels seemed quieter. Mira spoke softly, echoing his truth. She told the council of the attack, of how Liam risked himself, and how he had carried her to safety. She explained the memories she had shared with him and how he honored them. One by one, the council members leaned forward, studying Liam. Their eyes searched him, probing for lies or deceit. He stood firm, meeting each gaze with honesty. Finally, one council member, taller than the others, spoke. Their voice was deep, resonant. "You speak truth, human. Your actions reflect honor. You protected a child without seeking advantage. This is rare among your species." Another council member nodded slowly. "And the child confirms your story. Her memories and your words align. There is no deception here." Commander Valoris' expression softened. She looked at Liam with new respect. "You have acted rightly," she said. "You have protected my daughter and preserved honor. For this you have earned our trust. And by our law, trust must be recognized." Relief washed over Liam. The tension in his chest eased. He turned to Mira, who gave him a small, proud smile. Valora continued, "Human, you are not our enemy. You may return to your people. We will inform them that no harm comes from you. And know this, your courage and honor will be remembered among our kind." Liam bowed slightly, feeling both humble and grateful. "Thank you," he said. "I hope this begins a path of understanding between our worlds." Valora's hand rested briefly on Mira's shoulder. "Perhaps it will. But always remember, compassion and courage are the greatest tools against fear and misunderstanding." Liam and Mira exited the chamber, greeted by the sight of the outpost still standing and the alien fleet preparing to depart. Liam felt a strange mix of relief and wonder. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and suspicion. He had risked everything. And now, against all odds, he had helped prevent a war. Mira whispered, "You are a hero, Liam, not just to me, but to all who were caught in this conflict." He smiled softly, holding her hand. "I only did what anyone should do, but I am glad it matters." As the alien ships lifted into the sky, Liam knew that the bond formed here would last. Humans and aliens alike had learned the value of trust, courage, and compassion. And in the vastness of space, he hoped this small act would be the start of a greater understanding. For the first time in days, Liam felt at peace. The stars outside the outpost shone bright, and he knew the future was uncertain, but it was full of hope.